Okay, we're going to start looking at the swing trade charts of interest. First, we'll take a look at Caterpillar and the general form of how to read this. The red area, just like the market health check, that's the 200 period moving average. And you can see that Caterpillar has made a nice recovery. It had been trading up around 120 last year and then pulled back down below its 200 and then found support down here around 80. And now you can see the river has emerged from the lava. Is that what I think of that? And the slope of the regression line improved steadily, but now has kind of flattened out, is coming back towards the zero. But what we have is almost a sideways quiet channel beginning to establish here. If it holds at this price level, this could become a sideways quiet channel. It's basically been flat the last 30 days. And then that's what has made the slope of the regression line collapse like it has. But you can see right now price has drifted back into the river, now to the bottom of the river, and is now holding right on the bottom of the river at 95. But it has not been panic selling, and this 95 has sort of been acting as a support level. And so if we were able to enter, if we saw strength in this and it got up around 96 3/4, and certainly at 97, you could play that with an idea of the 10-day high being 99. So that's $2 on the upside. So if you can manage a dollar risk, which looks pretty easy in Caterpillar, you still have a 2-to-1, and then the potential for this to grow into a nice swing trade, assuming that the theory is that 95-ish is going to be support. The hard support is at about 93. But you could start playing short-term momentum here and treat this sort of as a consolidation pattern now that it has emerged from outside of the lava. So Caterpillar is an attractive position right here. DBA, on the other hand, is a pure pattern play. It's a 5-day down and a max pain range compression. And you can see that if you look at the 10-day high being up here around 29, and the hypothesis is 5-day down, but it's going to hold support around 26.5. Then a retest of the swing high gives you almost 7-to-1 if you buy a nickel above with a stop below the swing low. And now it's stabilizing outside of the floodplain on the downside. You got to have some courage of your convictions on this one. Sure, it's a 5-day down. It's really like about a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost a 9-day down, and it's outside the floodplain, and it's below its 200 period moving average, and everything about this looks horrible except that for 2 days it has failed to fail further. And so the beginning of the resumption of a return to fair value, you can look at 2750 as a target. So this is a pure technical play. It's a contrarian play. It's almost like a washout, not quite a washout pattern, but this is just a 5-day down. Conversely, this is a perfect 5-day down failure that if it goes below 2650, then you want to be piling on this thing on the short side. So this is a perfect opportunity for an either-or trade with a very narrow yellow zone range here. And so agriculture is very attractive. It'll be good for the futures traders too that are looking at the ag contracts. Perfectly positioned for nice technical trading in both directions. Treasuries tested out pretty well on reward to risk, and you can see a consolidation zone here around this between 115 to 118. It's right in the middle of that. Only if you saw weakness in equities would you want to make this play, but with it, you look at a target of about 120 for a return to the 10-day high. XLK is a pullback in a recovery mode here, with a test at 30. Test of the 10-day highs at 30, and at almost a doji. What you're playing here is a resumption of this trend that brought it out from underneath the 200 period moving average, and treating like 29.4 as strong support. But you now have an uptick in the 30 period regression line. It's above the 0 line. It held support the last couple days, but the big explosive move hasn't occurred yet. It only has to get above 30, and then it's all systems go. So that's a little bit later than agriculture in the life cycle here. It's only starting to emerge out of the swamp or the lava, whatever you want to call it. XLB, on the other hand, it's a little easier to believe in this one. You have the river is strong. It's in a consolidation pattern here around 39.5. Failure to fail further. You can see that the fact that it couldn't maintain this first powerful move out over the 200 it originally made the regression line slope get very strong, but then when it started going sideways, you can see how quickly that collapses. But it's still positive, and this is clearly a sideways quiet channel, and so breakouts above 39.6 look to be attractive, and then if it gets above 39.9, that's really going to look good. Okay, so I like that one. McDonald's a nice value play, and it's given us a pullback for entries. So it was horrible. You can see that it was below the 200 period moving average, and the slope of the river was down. And then it had a nice rebound and a pullback to the Bollinger Band mean. A very nice leg up from looks like 88 to 96, and then an orderly pullback to the Bollinger Band mean in the middle of the river, just like it's supposed to. The slope of the 30 is still very strong above zero, and it actually gave you 1 day of positive recovery on Friday, but still in the form of a doji. So that's an almost perfect way to find a support level 2 days in a row where it held above 93, and then the doji was up slightly on Friday. So if it takes that out, the target is 96 or 97, and it continues to be the value play. And then if that continues to work like the last 30 days, you're going to have a nice recovery in a symbol that everybody has to own. Everybody has to own McDonald's if you're a fund manager. So this still looks like a nice value play, a good entry point. DBC, a pullback on an auto framer. This looks nice. Again, this is that blended commodities. The river has rotated up. It's come out of the sideways quiet channel, had a nice pullback. Friday was all buying and closed strong. I think retest of 28.7 is certainly in order. I like that. Let me flash over. Cliff Natural Resources got crushed out of this sideways quiet channel, lost 18 or 20%. Has been very tradable in both directions intraday. I want you to just notice but another very weak closing. The only good news about it is that just before its last run up to 40, it was down around 28. So it went from 28 to 40 on good news, which is almost a 40% move in 3 trading weeks. And then a long period of sideways quiet channel, then a collapse. But this is going to set up a lot of value plays and overreaction plays over the next couple months at least. So I like the fact that it gives us an opportunity to trade, and it also works on the downside too. That when it fails in a big way, as you can see by the size of these solid red candles. So Cliffs is a fantastic way to play the natural resources sector. Gold cracked, and this is interesting because this comes on news that banks have been buying gold like crazy the whole past year, along with sovereign nations. And man, I think this is an anomaly down here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that forming into a washout pattern. It had strong support around 161, 160, and this looks to me like a buying opportunity for the long term. And silver shows the same kind of pattern. Can't be afraid to own gold. This is silver. It's just slightly better than gold in my view on a technical basis, but it had the same kind of washout now to 29-ish. And anytime it's under 30, I become interested in it as a value player. The VIX, you can see this, it was at, VXX was at like 38 and is now down to 22. You know, so that's a 40% loss in a month. Nice. 2 months. And it's at the end of a long string. This is a 5-day down pattern. It's at a low. The actually, believe it or not, the slope of the 30 is actually improving. It's still well below zero, but the rate of decline is down. And that's simply because the market is now forgetting about this big sell-off here, that sharp sell-off. This has been a great run on the long side in XIV, which is the inverse of the VIX, which I am treating as a long-term growth position. It's crazy. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody else. Let your conscience be your guide. But to me, that's sort of a long-term bet on the fallibility of traders by betting against volatility in the long run. But on a technical basis, this is certainly attractive at 22. If it finds a double bottom here, a move to 25 is not out of the ordinary, and that would be a 15% move just to get back to the river, the midpoint of the river. So that's why I'm a volatility trader. Latin America, I really like this pattern here. This is a 551W, a classic one. Latin America and Brazil have been lagging for a long time, but it made a nice move from 40 to 46, found support, sort of an orderly pullback, a couple days of panic selling, but the last 2 days have been outside of the river, outside of the floodplain, but have been white candles, and that's people willing to hold it overnight after an this is classified as an extreme pullback based on the fact that it's outside the floodplain and 2 days in a row. I definitely think you can reward momentum here and treat that as a pullback and failure to fail further. The real support level here is about 44, which would be the closing of that gap. So I really like this on a trade location basis for a big fat index. Coca-Cola, there's still that 2-to-1 is available in here, and this was sort of it was a 5-day down here to 36 3/4, and then opened and had a volatile day, and then closed strong at the high of the day. And the slope of the 30-day regression line is positive. It's right at the 200-day moving average. The last powerful move prior to the sell-off was a big move up to 39. I really think Coke is a decent value play. It's something everybody's got to own. I'd be willing to play this on a day-to-day basis, just as a technical trader and a momentum trader on the second-day momentum. That's a 551W, by which we mean Friday's close is higher than it was 5 weeks ago. You can see that. It's lower than it was 5 days ago, and then the last day was a white candle. And then we'd be buying the second-day momentum with a stop below the swing low. Or in this case, I think you could actually use the low of the real body from Thursday, which is about 36.8. So you're really talking about a 50 or 60 cent initial stop if you get some momentum here. So Coca-Cola, to me, looks like an attractive short-term candidate as well. I've been playing around with free stock charts. These are the same charts, but now looking at it from the free stock chart, so I'm just going to flash through here. And this is Cliff's Natural Resource. And it looks a little more dramatic, I think, and with that black background and the bright lights. DBA, you just see how horrible that is, how it broke out of the sideways quiet channel and collapsed. That makes it an attractive trade. ILF, I really like, man, I like this even better in on the free stock trade. It's easier to see how it's completely crossed the river to the downside, went outside of the floodplain, but now has given us 2 days in a row of recovery, and then and the 30-period regression line is still just getting flat. So this looks like a if it can hold here, this looks like a really nice entry point on something that has already turned the corner and started to get well. So that's a nice pullback and recovery. So anyway, I'm not going to show the rest of those, but they're all in the chart deck that's hanging in the chat room. So that's everything I got for you tonight. I'm going to try to keep doing this with a little more emphasis on the swing trading, and then using the chat room in the usual way for more of the intraday finesses, but I want to try to start doing a little more coverage of swing trade opportunities, because that'll last basically all week, and then we can look at them week to week. So thanks for your kind attention, and you guys take care. Thanks for bearing with me with the technical troubles. I'm going to process this recording. I'll hang that link in the chat room as well. So take good care.